Hello. Right, I'm on the bro sheet again. So far I've answered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions from here, and each of those questions was a combination of several questions, so I've answered a lot of questions. And I think I'm down to the last one I'm going to answer on here. Maybe some others I'll come back to at some later stage, but at the moment there's really only one more on here that I feel like answering, and that's the last question, which is, what's the best mindset with which to watch what is playing out during the awakening? It feels to me as though the pain that is coming out needs to be released or alchemized by humanity. It is useful to practice taking the pain... is it useful to practice taking the pain into the body to transmute it? So the awakening is referring to all of the information that's coming out about the people and the organisations that have been ruling over us for a very long time, and how there's much corruption, the media has been lying to us, wars have been fake, there's been foreign influence in the direction of our countries, our sovereignty, all this stuff. Our sovereignty has been deliberately eroded, our biosphere has been deliberately toxified, and so on and so on and so on. It's becoming more and more realised that there are forces which have their own agenda, which isn't for the benefit of humanity as a whole, but for a benefit as to them only, at the detriment to us. In fact, it's their desire to keep humanity as a whole suppressed, so that we can never be a challenge to their power, and also so they can continue to do and get away with the things that they've been doing for a long time. This is kind of what's going on with the awakening. And so he wants to know more about that, and also he can see there's a lot of pain coming out, and he wants to know, is that pain, is it a useful practice to take it into the body and transmute it? And by that he means for him as an individual to take other people's pain and society's pain and humanity's pain into his own body, and using himself as a type of device to help transmute the pain for the betterment of humanity, because that's the type of guy he is. Okay. Alright. Let's see what's there. You've seen me drink a lot of water nowadays. The Murray's Drinking Water channel. Okay, here we go. Greetings, and thank you for the question. Your brother notes that during the awakening there seems to be a rising of pain, and he wishes to know, can that pain be taken into self as an individual to transmute it into light for the betterment of all of humanity? Let us start by first expressing gratitude to your brother for having this empathic stance. It is very much a service to others paradigm that he holds, in contrast to service to self. And this is the way forward for all of humanity, to become more unified as service to others. And so it becomes no longer about the self, but instead about the larger self, the greater self, which at the first step into the expanded awareness is the awareness of the humanity being, that you are all together, not only individual units of consciousness, but you are a composition of an infinite number of consciousnesses through the consciousness of each cell in your body and the consciousness of each atom in each cell, and then the subatomic particles, which are infinitely divisible. And so there is an infinite density of consciousness within each individuation of self. And you yourself are an individuated consciousness within the consciousness of the humanity being. The humanity being is the single consciousness, and it is an individuation of the earth consciousness, and the earth consciousness is an individuation of the sun's consciousness, and on until a large body is the individuation of the galaxy's consciousness, and on until eventually it is the one. So, the sensation of wishing to do service to others, rather than just being focused on service to self, is an awakening, is a realization of this structure. It is becoming more organically aligned with the path to the one. It is becoming more integrated into the whole, and realizing that you are more than just an individuation, but you are part of something larger, which is part of something larger, which is part of something larger, which until eventually is the one. So, you are all of it. You are part of something larger, yes, but you are that. And that is part of something larger, yes, but it is that. And therefore, you are that. So you are the earth, you are the sun, you are the galaxy, you are the one. So the pain that is rising in the human field can be explained in several ways, can be accounted for in several ways. First, the rising in the pain is not really as much a rising in pain. This is a perspective. It's not as much a rising in pain as it is a awakening to the contrast between the light and the dark. So the pain is the temporary resistance to the realization that there is darkness which is not self. There is darkness which acts to serve those who manipulate the humanity being for their own benefit. And this darkness, which has been infected into much of the human field through the cultural pillars, through media, entertainment, education, law. This is a deliberate process of spreading darkness, infecting darkness into beings which are beings primarily of light, have incarnated from the light, so that they become carriers of darkness. They become, in a sense, a battery, carrying darkness so that the field of darkness continues to grow. And at its center, those who use the darkness as a tool of manipulation, as a source of power, have more darkness to draw upon, because much of the humanity that they have sway over has been infected with this darkness, and they draw upon all of that darkness. They draw upon the darkness that you carry as an individual, and that goes towards the aggregation of their power at the focal point, where they understand the darkness, they control the darkness, and they wield darkness as a power. And so, the awakening to this understanding, to realizing that there are forces within the human field on your planet which are entirely about service to self, and they have made the life of many billions of people less prosperous, less aware, less healthy, less joyful, less in many ways, which are the birthright for all living existence, for humanity, for each individual human being. They are the birthright, they are the intended gift of existing, and yet they have been denied from experience as much as is strategically advantaged for those that have the power to do so, because it is a service to themselves. It is a service to themselves that you are less prosperous, that you are less informed, that you are unaware of your own capacities, of the capacities of humanity, of your integration into nature, and on and on and on. And so as this realization sweeps across the human field, there is resistance to this awakening. And that resistance is pain. Pain in those who cannot accept. And so they are still deeply swayed by the false narrative, by the false paradigm, the false matrix that have been created by those that have manipulated the human field for a long time. And they have been filled with so much fear. They carry so much darkness. Because as the awakening takes place, and the amount of people who are realizing what has been going on and are purging their darkness, they are releasing their darkness because they realize the fear that I carry, it's not real. It's based on a false narrative, a false paradigm, a false matrix. And therefore, I do not need to hold that fear anymore. And they release it. And my hatred for this other aspect of humanity, I realize now, this hatred I had for them is not because of a reality, because of a false paradigm, because it was advantageous to others if I continued to believe in these reasons of hatred. And so they release it. So for the darkness to maintain balance between the light and the dark, then fewer people must carry the same amount of darkness that has been carried by so many more people. So the effect is there is less people, and each of these less people are carrying more darkness individually. And so that is their pain. That is the pain they carry. It is more darkness. It is the suffering that has been pushed upon them through false understanding. And so, in a way, they have been barricaded from going to the light. The narrative has been used to fear the light, such that they retreat into darkness, not realizing that they retreat into pain, they retreat into suffering. And so this is the pain for them. And then those that polarize to the light, they also have a painful pathway, in a sense, as they become aware that there is this malevolence, this unified malevolence that has pitted itself against the awakening of humanity, the blossoming of humanity, humanity becoming aware of itself in a completely different understanding and paradigm. As the individuals which polarize to light go through this process of realizing that much of what they believed has been false, that much of the wars and suffering which has taken place throughout human history has been for no reason other than as service to those that choose to manipulate humanity for service to themselves. And this awakening is a painful experience. To come to the realization that what you have been following and believing and adapting as the true nature of the world is false. And so this process, it is painful, but eventually the pain is moved through and it is released, and then there is a fuller embracing and return to the light, and the pain has passed. So for those who are polarizing to the light, this painful experience is something which will not persist. It is something which is just part of the transformation of self as it is released and new understanding is awoken to. However, for individuals that retreat into the darkness, they retreat into greater pain, into greater suffering, as they move away from the light and polarize towards that which they are most afraid of, without realizing this is the manipulation which is being forced upon them. So, as the individual, is it useful to you to take the pain in and transmute it such that there is less pain for those who are still steeped in it? This is the basis of the question. And we say that this isn't necessary because it is already occurring. It is occurring on the basis of the humanity being. The humanity being, which you all are. You are all integrated as a single being, the humanity being. You are an individuation of the humanity being, which is an individuation of the earth being. And as you continue along this path of awakening, and you become more realized as this humanity being, which is an individuation of the earth being, you will start behaving more as a unified one, as a unity. And this unity is about service to others, because it is composed of others, just as your service to your body is a service to others, because your body is composed of many trillions of cells, and you treat your body in a way which makes it harmonic and prosperous and healthy for all of these individuations of self. And so in a sense, by taking care of your own physicality, of your own body, you are in service to others. And so, the humanity being is doing the same thing. The humanity being is service to itself, but knowing that it is a composition of many parts. And so it is service to others from that perspective. And the humanity being is already transmuting this energy. All of you together, just by becoming aware and awakened to the fact that you are an individuation of a larger whole, that you are part of the humanity being, that you are like neurons connected together in the humanity brain, seeing less division, seeing kindredness in people around you, not just those that look like you and sound like you, but in all aspects of humanity, having a compassion with them, understanding that they are the same as you, and then eventually that they are you, that they are a different aspect of the humanity being. They are an individuation of the same thing, of which you are an individuation, that you are the humanity being experiencing itself from different perspectives. And through this process, the pain is being transmuted. It is being healed. It is being released. And as this spreads and there is a greater unity, there is more of a growing sense that we are all in this together, which is the awakening. The awakening is realizing that there has been a unified malevolence that has been working against the expansion and awakening of the humanity being. And it has been forcing the human field into focus on its individuation rather than awareness and hence subsequent focus on its unity. It has been causing the human individual to look for separation, to look for reasons of identification which are a separation from those around them because of colour, religion, gender, political affiliation, different beliefs about different things, conflicting ideologies. The forces through the cultural pillars, this unified malevolence that has been pitting itself against humanity, has been focused on this demarcation, such that each individuation of the humanity being becomes more focused only on what is occurring within the borders of the body. And it is shut off from the realization that itself extends beyond the borders of the body to become part of something larger. And that larger thing, that first step, the next rung on the ladder, is being part of the humanity being. So, it is not necessary for each individuation of the humanity being, meaning you, the human being, to take pain into self, which is not your pain, such that it be transmuted. Because this will be the action of the humanity being. The humanity being is already doing this. So, your role in this is similar to how a cell of your body has a role. So, the cells of your body, unified together as the single organism, each an individuation, yet behaving in a unity, in recognition that they are one being, play their role. So it's essential that the heart beats for life in the human body to continue. And all cells in the human body understand this, but not all cells will be the beating heart. Each cell will play its part, knowing that the role it plays, whether it is in a muscle, whether it is in another organ, understands that its role is also essential for the entire unit to be able to have the beating heart. And so for you, the individual human, your part in this process, your individuation as a cell of the humanity being, such that the humanity being may transmute the power, is to awaken to this realization that you are the humanity being, and to start connecting with other humans with this realization that they are you, you are them, both of you are individuations of the same being, the humanity being, that each of you are that being having a unique experience of itself, are that being communicating with itself, seeing itself from a different perspective, experiencing itself from a different paradigm. And this understanding will be what transmutes the power. It's what transmutes the pain, which allows the pain to be released and transmuted into awareness, into understanding. And through this awareness, through this understanding, will open up the inevitable consequence, which is love. Because when this realization is made, when this understanding is dawned upon, and the connection between you, the individual human, and all other humans becomes something that you identify with, and you realize that this is the true nature of your existence, then this creates a circuitry, a connectivity, and the love which is inherent to this connectivity, to this circuitry, will then be allowed to flow naturally as it is intended. Because as each individuation of the human field is in a state of separateness, believing that it is just a separate human being, that it does not have this connection with all other humans, this infinite circuitry. And so this circuitry is laying dormant. It's being unused. It's being used in a way which is far below its capacity, because yes, even though you are an individuation, the humanity being has always existed, has always been there. It has existed as long as each individuation of itself has existed, because it is the being of which you are a cell. However, what is shifting is the awareness of that. And as each individuation with its free will and its own sentient consciousness becomes aware that there is this connectivity, then the force which flows through the connectivity, which flows through the circuitry, will be unleashed and will be allowed to course at a rate which will be unknown before. It will be a new dawning of love in the human field. And so when this dawning, this pulse of love shoots through the humanity being, pain will be released, pain will be transmuted, pain will become understood as what it is, which is not the self. It is not the individual. It is not the humanity being. It is darkness that is carried because the humanity individual has been burdened with this pain, with this darkness, such that the individual acts as a battery, acts as a pack mule of darkness, such that those who use the darkness to rule over the human field can draw upon it, and literally using you as a battery pack. So, your part in transmuting the power, transmuting the pain, such that humanity can release it and become painless. It is to be more service to others and more realizing that you are the humanity being. You are an individuation of the humanity being. You are a cell of the humanity being. You are an aspect, an individuation of the humanity being. And therefore, when you look at another human being, understand that human being is you. That human being is a different perspective of the same thing which you are. And this recognition opens the circuitry, connects it, flips the switch, such that now love of a much greater capacity can flow through the circuitry. And as it does, it blows out the cobwebs, so to speak. And blowing out the cobwebs is dispelling the darkness, is releasing the pain, such that the humanity being will become a richly interwoven network of infinite circuitry, coursing with love, combining all of aspects of itself, which is every human being, into a fabric of unity, such that it becomes one being. And that one being, of which you are a part, is an individual, yes, but so are you. You continue to have your individual perspective. Nothing shall be lost. You shall not be diminished. It is not something to have apprehension about, because will I be lost? I will become something else. I won't be me anymore. This is not how it works. You shall become more. You shall continue to be you, but you will be you plus much, 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 much more. Because now that you are part of the humanity being, you are not just the single neuron, but you are now the entire brain. And so as this increasingly occurs, and the unity becomes more of the predominant state of the human field, and you as an individual become more integrated into that, and so do all other aspects of the humanity field become integrate into this concept of being the humanity being, then you shall be able to draw upon not just your own capacities, but the capacities of that being, of that larger being, because you will be that larger being. You will be an individuation of that larger being, and so you will be able to draw upon the capacities of that larger being. So, in all aspects of human expression, of human beingness, you shall be enhanced to a great degree. So, it is to your benefit to work towards this understanding of self as the humanity being, to approach this unity, to have love in the heart for all aspects of yourself. Because, understand, when you see another human being, it is you. That human being is you, in a very real sense. It is you, because you are not just this individuation that you see in the mirror, but you are a cell of a much larger organism. And just as that is a cell of a much larger organism, and just as that is a cell of a much larger organism, and on and on and on, until everything is the one. So, in closing, let us say, you do not have to burden yourself with the darkness of others. This is not the role that you must take. The sentiment is beautiful. To be willing to take in the pain of other humans such that you may transmute it as an individual. You do not need to do this because the humanity being is doing this right now as the humanity being awakens through its individuations awakening. And this circuitry becomes activated, and the power which pulses through it is unleashed, which is love. This process is the transmutation of pain. It is occurring, and your role is to become the humanity being, is to become the unity. So, have love in your heart for all other aspects of the human field. And if you struggle at times because there are aspects of this being which you are, which behaves in ways which are despicable, then realize that they are playing out a role. And beyond this matrix, where they are the pure energetic, they have love in their heart for you, which is incredible, which is profound. And even though in this version of themselves, this temporary experience in the human field they are behaving diabolically. They are behaving in a way which is evil and a detriment to many. It is just a role. It is just an experience they have chosen to have. And they have chosen to have that experience so they may further realize into the understanding that they are ultimately an individuation of the love of the One, such that the One may fulfill its purpose, which is to know thyself through experience, for which all permutations of experience must occur such that the One can know itself to completion and its purpose fulfilled. It is all love, it is all agreement, and it is all a process. So let love be your predominant quality, because when you step out from the levels of understanding to expand your awareness, then the deeper you go into love, the more you see through the eyes of love, from the perspective of love. And then it is easy to look at those who are evil from a place of love and acceptance and gratitude for them playing the role they are in the awakening of the One. Thank you. We love you. And it is an exciting time to be a human being.